Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. These little town blues are melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that never sleeps and find I'm a number one, top of the list, king of the hill, a number one. These little town blues are melting away. I'm gonna make a brand new start of it in old New York. And if I can make it there, I'm gonna make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York, New York.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. This is the Sports Cave. Your co-host Robbie, my co-host Zach Roden. Zachary, how was your weekend?
It was lovely, gentlemen. The weekend was good, Robbie. You know, definitely consumed a fair amount of alcohol beverages. I was at a Secret Santa. Well, not really Secret Santa. It's actually what the kids are calling White Elephant nowadays, which I guess is basically where you go in, you can steal gifts and everything. And
So you're a Grinch.
Pardon?
So you're a Grinch.
Well, no, I think it's called White Elephant. Sorry, White Elephant is what it's called. But you know, Robbie was good. I ended up getting a Lego set, so you know, it was almost like they knew there was a fully retarded man walking into that building there tonight, folks.
Damn it, Zach!
That's got to be a record. I wanted to set the record tonight.
Oh my god!
Cheers, guys!
Damn it. Well, Zachary, before we get into the sports talk, I just have to make a public service announcement, and this is for the fat to skinny people, because I'm still fat. I'm working on trying to get out of fat, okay? But there's a difference between fat and above obese. I mean, this guy wasn't even obese. He was the next level of obese. So Friday.
Oh, happy birthday, car lover. Sorry.
Happy birthday, car lover.
Big happy birthday to who has become one of our most loyal, I don't even want to say fans, one of our most loyal boys that always shows up week in, week out to support Car Lover. We always notice it. We love it. And we wish you the best on this birthday. And Robbie, sorry to cut you off, but I just have to ask Car Lover a question. I don't know if you guys celebrate Christmas, but if you do, was it tough growing up having your birthday be within a week of Christmas, essentially? I feel like that'd be tough.
I mean, it all depends, but I'm going to see if we can get a happy birthday here. Let's see. No, that's not it. How about this one?
Happy birthday, dear Bob.
We got nothing. But happy birthday.
Jewish.
Right, it did. Happy birthday, buddy.
Shalom.
Going back to Friday. So I went to Friday Night SmackDown, where there were two shows. There was the live show, which they did an hour ahead, and then they had the pre-recorded show afterwards. So, Zach, the people I was staying with, we had seats 14 through 11. This guy somehow made it up the stairs without having a heart attack. Probably weighing in at 427 pounds. He was one fat motherfucker. And the only reason I'm shit talking to him is we'll get to the story. So he goes, I have seats 10 through 7. I'm sitting in seat 11. So the guy, you have buddies you're sitting with. Where does he decide to flop his fat ass? Right next to me. So I go from sitting like this, and if you're listening to the podcast, you have to tune into YouTube or Twitch. I literally had to sit over like this and my legs fucking crossed. And my buddy next to me is like, dude, just let me know if you need space. I was like, nah, man, I'm not going to make you struggle. Like, you guys, whatever, you know? So after the first show, someone in our row leaves. So he looks down and he goes, hey, could you guys move over a spot? Could you move over? And the second he moved, I went like back to sitting normal. No disrespect, but like your fucking flabs and your fat fucking hips are over my armrest and damn near touching my hips. All right.
I love how he says no disrespect and just absolute disrespect. But honestly, Robbie, I think there's got to be some sort of a weight limit that's implemented here.
So then the guy, I'm not even done yet, Zach. The guy then he goes, man, I was squished. It was tight over there. Some people just aren't considering giving enough space. Motherfucker, you're all up in my space, you fat Ozempic needed bitch. How about you lay off the fucking McDonald's and go to Subway and get a salad, you fat fuck? And if he ever listens to this, fuck you, you fat bitch.
Alrighty, well, because you guys can.
We're off to a fiery start today, folks.
I started this one off. You got a retard out of me within 1 minute, and Robbie's just basically calling.
But am I wrong? I mean, if you weigh that fucking fat, you might want to buy 3 seats, let alone 2, you pig.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, maybe what these arenas should start doing is implementing a fat-friendly area for these fat pigs to go in and watch this
all
game
the way to the
together.
top because they'll burn off some.
Well,
weight.
we can't put them too high because that's going to take a lot of support that they got to build up. That you got to keep them somewhere closer to ground level, where they just got to throw a couple of iron beams in there. Isaiah, welcome, sir.
I told Isaiah the story, but I didn't explain like what he looked like. I'm just,
I think we call it the mongoose section. You know.
No,
or
we
the
call it
jungle, maybe, because that's where all the wild animals get sent.
I agree. But, this is a problem that needs to be fixed across the world.
Yeah.
And how the hell
Fatties.
do you allow yourself to get to like 427?
Can I
How
be
do you
honest with you,
allow
Robbie?
that?
I know how you allow yourself to do that, especially living in the States, because in my one time going to the States, I went to fucking Dunkin' Donuts to get what I thought was like an iced coffee. It was like some iced coffee caramel thing.
Okay.
Now, here in Canada, when I get an iced coffee at large, the lady will put the thing there and she'll go pump, maybe pump and a half. Maybe if she's feeling generous, I'll get 2 pumps of the syrup. I watched this man at Dunkin'
That's a great
Donuts.
point. You put the food cart right next to that section.
I watched this man at Dunkin' Donuts pump like 11 pumps of syrup into my ice, and I was like, "Oh my god!" It's like that. This one iced coffee alone is probably 800 fucking calories.
How'd it taste?
It was absolutely delicious. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like this. At the end of the day, it's not even a coffee at that point. I'm having a dessert.
Yeah, for sure. But man, yeah, I guess it all makes sense. But ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of sports to talk about.
Yeah, enough
we're
about the
gonna
fat
start off-
people.
We're going to start off with this sport. All right, folks. We
Cheers.
know that we're over in week 15 in the NFL. That's the next sport we're going to dive into. So just stick around for a little bit here as we go through some baseball talk. The biggest trade since last time we were on the show. Kyle Tucker is no longer a Houston Astros, Zachary. Kyle Tucker is a Chicago Cub. The Cubs acquire Kyle Tucker. They trade the guy that they acquired last year from the Tampa Bay Rays, Isaac Paredes, Cam Smith, and what's the other gentleman I got there in the notes, Zachary?
Hayden Wisniewski.
Definitely Polish. And Zach, I mean, what could potentially be a franchise player for the Chicago Cubs? I don't know if they're I don't know what direction they're steering towards, because the one thing with the Cubs, they have money, but they're cheap. I mean, I think you heard Big Cat talk about it a couple episodes on Part of My Take. He's right. They're relatively cheap. I mean, they didn't even make the conservative effort to bring back Rizzo, Bryant, Baez. They didn't make the conservative effort. So with that being said, Zach, with this whole Kyle Tucker thing, what are the chances they either A, ride him out as a rental, B, try to see if they can get him to a contract extension, or C, if he plays up to exceeding expectations and try to trade him a contender? I mean, what route do you think they go?
It has to be B. Like you can't trade. Not even really to say that they gave away like an incredible amount, because I'll be honest with you, Robbie, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, I've heard of Paredes before. I'm not too familiar with Cam Smith and Wisniewski, so I'm not really too sure. What's this return value looking like here? Because obviously everyone knows you're going to get with Kyle Tucker. You're getting a top baseball player. I mean, the guy's legit.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Isaac Paredes, I believe it is. He's pretty decent.
It's very weird. It's Isaac Paredes.
Oh, okay, well there you go.
Isaac Paredes. Unique, huh?
That is very unique. But I mean, so he's not too bad from what I'm understanding here.
Well, it appears, as I'm trying to find out more about Cam Smith, I know about Isaac Paredes. He was really good last year with the Tampa Bay Rays, and it seems like he kind of struggled the second he went over to Wrigley. I mean, unless you're hitting it to left center to right center, it's going to be hard to hit any necessarily home runs. Last year, Paredes had a 238 average with a 346 on base and a 393 slug. He had 19 home runs in 2024. With the pull heavy swing, though, over there in Houston with that short porch right there, I mean, that could be designed for 30 home runs with him.
Yeah, that is true.
So, I mean, it made sense. I mean, they said they needed a corner infielder. He could play both third and first base, so it kind of solves two issues that they have, because if they do bring back Alex Bregman, which who knows? I mean, everyone's just already closing the door on Bregman. I mean, they slide Paredes over to first. I mean, they got Bregman right there, so he's capable of playing both sides of the field. And his bat is pretty good, and it's like what it says, 81 games at, it's not Minute Maid Park anymore. It's some air-conditioned place now. I mean, it's just like Heinz Field. Like Heinz Field. And I hate the Astros. They go fuck themselves, but they're Minute Maid Park. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's what it is.
So, I mean, maybe they look at that as equal value in a way. Kyle Tucker, let me get Kyle Tucker's numbers for you last year. I mean, Kyle Tucker is damn near a five-tool player. Zachary can hit. He can run. He can throw.
He's incredible.
He's very, very good. I mean, there's a reason why people didn't hesitate to make the offers. Now, apparently, the Yankees had an offer on the table for Tucker, but they weren't willing to part ways with Luis Gil. And if you ask me, Zach, I think that's a boneheaded decision. You brought in Max Fried. I mean, if you had to move on from the rookie of the year, so be it. I mean, he had a great 2-3 months to start off the season. Then he just started walking people left, right, and center. Although that their pitching rotation is good and they have a great pitching coach, Kyle Tucker solves your problem for Juan Soto immediately. And we'll get into the other news later. So last year, he had a 289 average with a 408 on base and a 585 slug, a 993 OPS. That's damn near close to what fucking Juan Soto does, man. 23 home runs, 49 RBIs. Not a lot of production in the RBIs. They significantly dropped from the year prior to, but he only played 78 games last year because he was dealing with an injury. The year prior to, he had 29 home runs, 112 RBIs, which led the league of baseball, and 30 stolen bases. So, I mean, this guy is a all-purpose player.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Cubs have really gotten themselves a gem here.
And he's only 27 years old. He'll be 28 in January.
I feel like it has to be option B, Robbie. You got to sign this guy. You got to try to make it work. Maybe build around him. Mm-hmm. How about the Cubs were just on the brink of it last year, were they not?
They were hanging in for the most part, but the Cubs were derailed by injuries with Bellinger, with Dansby Swanson. I believe Justin Steele got hurt too, their starting pitcher. So, I mean, they were derailed with injuries last year. I mean, they're a pretty mid team. I mean, that Central's pretty open over there with I mean, it was open for most part of the season. Pittsburgh, St. Louis, they were all battling for first with Milwaukee. Every single one of them. Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Chicago, Milwaukee. Am I missing a team? Pittsburgh. I don't think I said
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago,
St. Louis,
Milwaukee. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's a fair trade for both sides, and I think that the Cubs should immediately try to extend it. But if you ask me, Zach, they say that Kyle Tucker's interested. I think a lot of these athletes are going to look at the route that Soto went and bet on themselves.
Well, it's fucking
Judge bet on himself. It worked. Soto bet on himself. It worked. Kyle Tucker is in that tier with Soto and Judge. I think he should bet on himself and see if he can get over $40 million.
Or is that if you see even if you see the Soto contract that was just signed, is that not even something that maybe the Cubs would offer? Just fucking, hey, this is our number. We're gonna give this to you. We're not going any higher. It's gonna be a juicy first offer. Because I feel like, as you just said, I mean, you offer him $40 million a year for say 15 years. He has an incredible season. Maybe that number even gets fucking higher.
Problem with that too is everything gets leaked. It all gets leaked. So if we find out that they offer him 10 years, $400 million, $40 mil per year. Other teams are going to look at that, and then that's going to be based off of his play. So if he goes and wins an MVP and he has 35 home runs, 120 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, over 1 OPS, over 300 batting average, elite defense. Now we're talking Soto money with him.
There's so much money in baseball. I just do not understand it.
I mean, your team has a lot of money. They don't want to spend. The Red Sox have a lot of money. They don't want to spend. The Cubs have a lot of money. They don't want to spend. The only teams that really look like they're going to spend are the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Mets.
Well, apparently, my team attempted to spend some cash by offering Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a contract extension north of $350 million, and I don't know the terms, Robbie, the years I should say, but he turned that puppy down. So,
and like I said,
I don't blame him. Keep your eye on a monster deal for him.
It's like what I said after Juan Soto signed. I think a lot of these guys are going to do that. And there's other Juan Soto news, but I'm not trying to make every episode about Juan Soto unless you want me to talk about it.
Yeah, get in there. Let's get just
Okay, so we talked about last episode how Juan Soto had no contact with any of his teammates after the World Series loss, and that reason being, Zachary, is he changed his entire phone number. This guy clearly was out for the money. I
said it from the get-go. I think
I understand, but a $5 million difference. So just so it knows, he didn't contact any Yankees. Stanton, Judge, no one. His mind was set about the money. Just in case anybody had any doubts that why didn't Yankee player reach out to him? Well, there was no contact being able to be made because he changed his phone number.
Damn cocksucker.
Stanton's doing a camp over in the islands somewhere, and some kid asked him, do you think you're going to be okay without Soto? What's Stanton supposed to say? No, we're screwed. He goes, yeah, we're going to be just fine. And he's right. That's right. That's the fucking answer you're supposed to give. Everyone's like, what is he talking about? What is he supposed to, what athlete is supposed to say, oh, we're going to get worse? Hey, Toronto, you just traded William Nylander. Are you guys going to be okay? Austin Matthews? Yeah, we're going to be fine. That's what you do. Come on.
Well, Robbie, I mean, if we're talking about the Yankees here, I feel like there's a couple moves that we got to go over here.
They were active.
Yeah, Yankees definitely made some moves here. Let's start off with the first of the two trades that happened Yankees making a trade with the Milwaukee Brewers, bringing in Devin Williams, all-star closer from the Brewers, sending in return for Mr. Devin Williams, Nestor Cortez, and second baseman, super utility minor league player Caleb Durbin. Robbie, I am just going to give this floor to you here.
Now, are you aware of Devin Williams at all?
I have heard of him, but I'm not like too familiar with him, especially him being an NL guy. You don't really get to see him
But
too
you're
often.
definitely familiarized with Nestor Cortez, at least.
Yes.
So last year, Nestor was pretty good at home, but he struggled on the road. And unfortunately, when you have the stupid, you know what, you already said it 4 minutes into the show, so I'm going to say, when you have the stupid, retarded Yankees Twitter fans that go out there and say, this is how I'm going to remember Nestor Cortez with the homer and give it up to Freddie Freeman, that was never Nestor Cortez's fault, as I've explained millions of times. That was Aaron Boone's stupid judgment to put Nestor Cortez in over Tim Hill. Tim Hill, who has dominated all playoffs long, Nestor Cortez has a pinch in a month and a half against Shohei Ohtani to lead it off. Then intentionally walk Mookie to bring up the best guy in MLB with the bases loaded the last 2 seasons. So with that all being said, it sucks moving on from Nestor Cortez because he brought a spark. He was unique. But at the end of the day, the Yankees have what they've been looking for years, Zachary. They have one of the best closers in baseball. The second Mariano Rivera retired, they had David Robertson. They had Andrew Miller and Dylan Betances. They eventually trade everybody. But it eventually led all the way to Aroldis Chapman. And Aroldis Chapman is and was a thrower. A guy that throws heat, but when he's wild, he's fucking wild. And when the time of Chapman ended, it turned into Clay Holmes. Never liked Clay Holmes from the start. Did he have some good outings? Yeah, he had plenty of good outings. But when he gets rocked, he gets hit good, man. No homo, no diddy. When you have a closer, you need someone with strikeout stuff. And that's not what Clay Holmes provided. Devin Williams, on the other hand, he has strikeout stuff. Last year, he was injured, so he came in late in the season. In 21 innings pitched, he had 38 strikeouts. In 2023, he finished with 36 saves. That was his first full year as a closer, as Josh Hader was gone in 2022. I believe he was traded to the Padres. 36 saves, 58.2 innings pitched, 87 strikeouts with an 8-3 record as a closer.
Not bad.
So that's what the Yankees are looking for. He's a 2-time All-Star, and he will be a 3-time All-Star with the Yankees. Meatloaf, welcome, buddy. Hope you're feeling better. I know you've been dealing with COVID. Hope you're feeling better, my friend.
Also, Robbie, I just want to point this out real quick because it wasn't in our notes. There was a little bit of, I don't really even Blue Jays news, but we are now in the market for a new closer as well, Robert, because Jordan Romano was gone, signing with the Phillies. I'm not too sure about the contract deals of that, but
it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah, we were just talking about the closers. So this is a good trade for you then, Robbie. Obviously, losing Nestor Cortez is a bit tough, but I mean, I think with the rotation you guys have going anyways, it's really, I honestly don't even think you're going to notice it, especially bringing in Max Fried as well.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. I mean, I think Nestor Cortez is one of those guys that you were maybe contemplating when Fried was brought in as maybe a guy that was going to be getting sent to the bullpen regardless, or being like one of those fringe starter guys.
Yeah, like Julian was saying, yep.
So, I mean, to me, this seems like a pretty fucking good swap-a-rooney. But Robbie, nowhere near as good as a swap-a-rooney as this other trade. I mean, I don't know what the fuck those Cubs are doing. You know, they make this wonderful trade to bring in Kyle Tucker, and it's like they're riding a high. And then it was like they got Kyle Tucker, and they're like, you know what? We do not need Cody Bellinger anymore. Let's just give him away for a couple of used dildos. Cody Bellinger gets traded to the New York Yankees. Sorry, not even a couple used dildos, Robbie. Just one used dildo. Cody Bellinger to the Yankees. The Yankees receiving Cody Bellinger and $5 million smackaroonies to go on top of that. And the Chicago Cubs receive right-hand relief pitcher Cody Poteet.
I don't know.
Am I missing something here, Robbie?
I don't know.
Like, how do you guys also get the $5 million? Like, to me, this trade is just ridiculous. Like, I feel like your guy was a Cashman.
Yeah, Brian Cashman.
I think Cashman was probably like, this was like a prank phone call, and then it was just going so well. He's like, oh my god. Mm-hmm. But hey, you got Cody Bellinger, Robbie. So I mean, is this the whole build that Juan Soto is that he had left, or is it a start?
This is what they had left, because it was either Cody Bellinger or Kyle Tucker as the left-handed bats, the best left-handed bats available. I hope that the Yankees somehow, some way carry some money over into next season, because if the rumors are true that Japanese phenom Munetaka Murakami is going to come to MLB,
That's a name.
the Yankees should do whatever they can to bring him in. Zach, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago, he hit 56 home runs over there in Japan. So, I mean, I would really enjoy another lefty bat over there at Yankee Stadium.
These Japanese guys can fucking mash some balls over there, huh?
Yeah. So Cody Bellinger in the playoffs, numbers aren't too good. But when he had his run in 2020 when they won the World Series, in the COVID year, in 18 games played, he had 4 home runs and 13 RBIs, a 212 batting average, which honestly isn't all that impressive, but the 4 home runs and 13 RBIs are going to make up for that with the 10 walks. Last season for the Cubs, 2 years ago, he made his first season with the Cubs, and he was going down bad in LA. In 2021, he had a 165 batting average in 95 games played with 10 home runs, 36 RBIs. The next year, when his WAR that year was negative 1.7, negative 1.7 in 2021. In 2019, when he won the MVP, he had 8.6 WAR. You know what WAR is, right?
Not a goddamn clue.
Wins
Like,
above
what Ukraine and Russia are doing right now?
No. Wins above replacement. So that means in 2019, the 8.6 means they won 8 more games essentially with Bellinger.
Okay. That minus is not good then. This isn't a golf score we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's terrible. That 2019 year when he won the MVP at the Dodgers, he had a 305 average, a 406 on base, and a 629 slug, which came out to 1,035 OPS, 47 home runs, 115 RBIs, 15 stolen bases. So let's go to his time at the Cubs, because as he's going down with the Dodgers, his first year at the Cubs is why he got the contract that he got. It's a 3-year deal. I think it's like $75 million per year. Player opt out every single year. He elected to opt in, which is why they traded him. The first year at the Cubs, he had a 307 average with the 356 on base, a 525 slug, which comes out to an 881 OPS, 26 home runs, 97 RBIs, 20 stolen bases. And last year, with no real security blanket over there in Chicago, 18 home runs, 78 RBIs, a 266 average, 325 on base, a 426 slug, a 751 OPS, which is about league average.
Slap my titties.
So now you're getting out of the Windy City. He's got the short porch. I mean, we're talking about a guy that can hit 30 to 40 home runs. I mean, he's done 40 in the past. Do I think he's going to hit 40 next year? No, I don't think so. But is 30 in the equation? Absolutely it is. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone that can give you the production of 30 home runs. And if he can hit above 260, I mean, job well done. Now,
I think it's a
Bellinger could also play first base, but the Yankees have come out and said that he's going to play center field. So right now, if I had to take a guess, Judge is in right, Bellinger's in center, and Dominguez is in left. If worse comes to worse, Judge is going to left, Dominguez is going to right. Center field is locked down for Cody Bellinger. They have pretty damn good defense outside of what Dominguez can do.
And then the first baseman, who would that be?
Well, we're still looking to see what can happen. I mean, they could still bring in Christian Walker. They could bring in Carlos Santana. They could try to bring in Paul Goldschmidt. The option at first base. Zach Kaz, you got to be fucking kidding me. When the fuck have you been in here? It's been a minute. No shit. You're
Zach, I like your name, brother.
No shit. You're going to beat us. Welcome, bud. Hope the job's treating you well.
Robbie, this does kind of pose a bit of a question here, though. You named guys like Paul Goldschmidt and Christian Walker. So for these now that are the remaining select few of not even
Pete
one.
I forgot to mention Pete Alonso.
Yeah. But this remaining group of free agents and guys that are looking for new teams, like the Christian Walkers, do we expect these signings to be happening anytime soon? Do you have any sort of teams? I mean, as you just said, the Yankees, I'm assuming, are probably not done yet if they're trying to fill that gap at first base. Rizzo's gone, so you're going to want to fill that spot up there, and I think Walker might be the probably the cherry on top.
Yeah, Walker's probably going to end up being the guy. I don't want them to bring in Pete Alonso because he's asked for too many years at too much money, and he's not really that good defensively. And I thought that maybe they consider sliding Cody to first, put Dominguez in center, and figure out left field where it's either you bring back Verdugo, if it's Harrison Bader. I mean, whatever option they could really think of. Because at the end of the day, Judge has got to slide over to first base because he can't play in the outfield forever. Not his size. As much as I would love for it to happen, I just don't think that's sustainable for his health.
Well,
so with that being said,
Paul, can't trust him out there.
You're a piece of shit, fucking loser. I hate you so much.
What were you saying?
I think Christian Walker is going to be the route to go. As it pertains to third base, either it's going to be LeMahieu, Oswaldo Cabrera, or Oswald Peraza. Second base, Jazz is going to second. And that's the other thing, too. If something happens to Cody Bellinger, they have Trent Grisham off the bench, who his Gold Glove defense. Jazz could go to center field if needed. So there's a lot of versatility in this Yankees lineup defensively.
Well, alrighty then, Robert.
And for Cody Petit, I don't know who the fuck he is. The Cubs,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I
wonder if Kyle Tucker's numbers are going to be good, because at least over there in Houston, you had Bregman, you had Yordan Alvarez, Altuve. I mean, what's his security blanket going to be over there in Chicago? Nico Horner is probably going to bat ahead of him. Sierra Suzuki hasn't been all that spectacular. Dansby Swanson, I don't know. I don't anticipate him batting after Kyle Tucker. I mean, maybe Kyle Tucker just plays for the OPS here. You fucking walk a lot and you slug when you can.
It might be that type of year for him, Rob, because it does seem like a one-headed dragon heading into next season for this Chicago, Cubs team.
Yeah, and that's why I also wonder if the Yankees are going to try to save up money to try to bring in Tucker next year. And I'm sure the Blue Jays will be in on him as well.
Yeah, especially if no deal gets signed.
Yeah.
Robbie, the last little bit of our MLB news here is agent, your favorite guy, Scott Boras, is saying that the Orioles are going to look to retain all of their young assets here under the new ownership. So anticipate an extremely expensive next calendar year for this Baltimore Orioles team, Robert, because they got a lot of young assets.
I don't think they're all free agents next year, but I mean, they have.
Well, but over the next couple of years, I should say.
Yeah, because they're going to have to try to retain Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday if he pans out. I mean, they're trying right now with Anthony Santander. I don't know, Zach. We haven't really seen Baltimore as big spenders, but with the new ownership group, I mean, it's possible. And not to mention, too, I don't know if you saw, if you remember, because I kind of alluded to it when they signed Tyler O'Neill. They're moving the walls back in a little bit.
Oh, making it a little smaller, huh?
Yeah, because it's nearly impossible. That wall was literally designed for Gleyber Torres, Aaron Judge, and Carlos Stanton. Literally.
What, so they couldn't get home runs?
Yes.
Did you have to throw Gleyber Torres in that conversation?
Yes, because the year that he hit like 39 home runs, he had 14 of them against the Orioles or something like that.
Well, that's impressive. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think Gleyber Torres in there. Yeah, that's why I think Gleyber Torres in there.
But Mr. Robert,
with that, Zach, I don't know. I don't think it's sustainable. I think that Henderson, I think, will be a priority. Rutschman, maybe. He kind of really died out last year. And Jackson Holiday, we're still waiting to see what his progression could be like. Santander, I think, is good as gone.
Yeah, I think you nailed that right on the head there. There's definitely an outlier out of those guys in Gunnar that's going to have to be the top priority to get signed up.
Yep. Well, until then, I don't think we have any upcoming MLB news unless there's some breaking news, which we will break down for you if it does happen. So, Zachary, what do you say that we do the following thing? Let's get sued.
Sue us. Sue us, pussies.
All right, Zachary, I got a question for you.
I poured beer all over myself.
Excuse
me.
I got a question for you. I saw a tweet here. I want to see which one you're going to delete. You ready?
Yep.
You have to delete one of these things that I'm going to say to you. Now, it says football, so I don't know if they mean soccer or NFL football, but I'm assuming they mean NFL football. So you have to delete one of these forever. Football, sex, music, women. I feel like sex and women kind of fall in the same category, so that's weird. Money, water, weed.
Music.
Music? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Podcast, anyways, pretty much 24/7. So.
Oh, that's fair. I thought you were going to say sex.
What? You gotta get that away? No chance.
I knew you were.
I was even thinking about water, but I guess that's a necessity. So
that is definitely a necessity.
Yeah, I'm gonna need water, unfortunately.
Oh,
honestly, well, what the fuck would I do on Sundays? I don't listen to Steve. He said, football, sex, women, which we kind of agreed is the same thing, water. There was a couple other ones I'm missing there.
I got it.
Yeah.
Football, sex, music, women, money, water, weed.
Bob, you're probably right, Bob.
You're a fucking idiot. You wouldn't give up weed for $1 million.
Obviously, I'd give it up for $1 million, but $1 million really doesn't get you much nowadays, to be honest with you.
Well, in your economy, that's true. Just we can't live without any of them.
But Robbie, we got a fair amount of football to go over here, Robbie, because as I mentioned last episode, the bye weeks are.
So we're gonna stick around for this. Steve can go without football. We know because your team is I did that. Your team is the.
We'll get into them later, though, Steve. Big W over Mac Jones. But first, Robbie, let's rewind it.
It's a Thursday night.
Thursday night in. I mean, folks, if you guys watch this football game, I'm just here to formally apologize on the Sports Cave behalf that you had to sit through 3 hours of basically watching paint dry and grass grow. I mean, it was.
Now, this is a new thing you need to do for me. I need to know the home stadium, and I need to know the weather. Because the over-under was 48.5. Both offenses were coming in firepower coming in the last 2 weeks. Had I known that it was going to be a fucking tsunami.
I didn't fucking know it was going to be a tsunami.
I know.
I'm not the weatherman.
I'm not shitting on you. I'm not shitting on you. I'm just requesting that when you're leading the charge, when we're doing our picks every Thursday, except for next week, we'll be doing Friday instead. Monday. So let's get it out of the way, folks.
Yeah.
Our show next Monday. Next week is Monday and Friday, 6:30 start time as usual. So we're going to be doing Monday and Friday next week.
Also,
the week of New Year's.
Well, I just want to point out, too, for this Thursday, I'm going to be popping in for like the first half an hour, 40 minutes or so, doing the NFL picks. And then I have my work Christmas party or Christmas dinner, I guess you should call it. I don't really know if it's much of a party, but
yeah.
I'm going to pop in for a little bit, though, do the picks. And then I believe Robert is going to manhandle the second half and do the rest of the news as a solo dolo artist here. He's going off the rails, folks.
Because I am the GOAT. So the week of New Year's, we're doing Monday again. So 2 straight Mondays, and then we're going to do the day after New Year's. We'll go back to our Tuesday, Thursday schedule.
Yeah. So obviously, folks, holiday season, you're going to have to bear with us here. There's a lot of shit going on. We were thinking about doing our episode on Christmas Eve, but then we're like, you know what? Christmas Eve is a time to spend with your family. So we'll bump that one a day back.
Do your last second rapping when you're like me.
Okay, Bob. We'll do a swap for the next 2 weeks then, Bob, okay? That's fair compromise right there. Look at that.
Perfect.
But Robert, let's get into this one. 12 for the Los Angeles Rams, 6 for the San Francisco 49ers. San Fran at home. As Robbie said, the fucking weather was ridiculous. But what happened here with this game, Robbie, and I guess I'll allude to it later, is with the Rams winning and the Seahawks losing, Robbie, there is a new division leader in the NFC West, and that is the Los Angeles Rams, Robbie. And I'm sure we already mentioned his name earlier, but if you're Big Cat, you're getting a little bit nervous right now, Robbie, because do you know what he does every year with his pinky bet?
No.
He chooses a team that gets off to like an 0 and like a really shitty start. But like a team that has like Super Bowl aspirations that could, maybe has a roster win the Super Bowl. He says, I'm so confident that this team will not win a Super Bowl. I will bet my pinky finger on it. So his pinky finger team this year was the Los Angeles Rams. And I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to win a Super Bowl, but if you look at the NFC with the injuries that have gone down now to Detroit, I hate to say it, Robbie, I'm taking them out of Super Bowl contention with the amount of injuries they have on defense. So I think there's really one clear-cut winner team here in the NFC, and that's the Eagles. So if you get one lucky win over them and the fucking Eagles, I mean, Big Cat might be losing his pinky finger here, Robbie.
I don't think he'll go through with it. He'll find a loophole.
I mean, yeah, that's probably true because that'd be a crazy bet to But, I mean, Robbie, this game was boring as hell. I don't have much to say about it. San Francisco 49ers are just up shit's creek, no paddle, no run game whatsoever. Debo Samuel's a 1 touchdown, dropping balls left, right, and center. He is awful this year.
Yeah, they
horrible year.
To pay him, and he fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah. A really tough year for the 49ers. Rams got the job done. As I said, now move into first place, solidify or really, really harden their chances of getting into the playoffs here now, Robbie. So huge Thursday night victory for the Rams.
Now, let's not forget there was some drama as linebacker Devondre Campbell was seen leaving in the third quarter because he didn't want to basically play anymore due to the fact that his minutes were basically cut due to the fact that Dre Greenlaw returned from his Achilles injury. Zachary, what are your thoughts on what Devondre Campbell did?
I mean, it's a complete fucking pussy ass move. You're on an NFL roster. A guy comes in that's playing better than you and takes your spot. That's the world, buddy. That's the world you live in. That's you're playing in a competitive, extremely competitive fucking sport. There's literally like what, maybe 50 spots to compete for, and then that position, maybe 3 spots to compete for that position.
Right.
So stop being a fucking pussy. When you get your chances, take them. And now the San Francisco 49ers have decided to suspend him for the rest of the year. I would have cut his ass. That the second he left, I would have made the call and said, put this on the news. He is never playing for the San Francisco 49ers again. He is cut.
They should have come immediately. I don't care what the talent is. What that is, I mean, that's an Antonio Brown situation right there. And the Buccaneers didn't hesitate with Antonio Brown's being one of the best receivers on the team. They said, all right, we're going to cut our losses. See you later. I mean, you heard a lot of teams. I mean, George Kittle said he doesn't want to be around someone like that ever again. There were a lot of comments towards Devondre Campbell, and they're all correct. I mean,
I like how they fucking went at him too, because a lot of times you'll see the players kind of protect other players in situations like that. But when it comes down to hurting the team, you can see that really pissed them off and rubbed them the wrong way. And it's a good thing they fucking dragged his name through the mud.
Now, Javarius Ward, who was paid handsomely, I think during the season this year, these were the comments that he had, Mr. Zachary, on Devondre Campbell's incident.
I mean, he's a professional. He's been playing for a long time. I mean, if he didn't want to play, he shouldn't have dressed out. You know, he could have told him that before the game. So I feel like there was some subtle shit that he did. Definitely hurt the team because, you know, D went down. And we needed a linebacker, you know. And I think Flynn was banged up too. So for him to do that, that's some subtle stuff to me, in my opinion. Like, it's probably going to get cut soon. So, you know, it is what it is with that.
I love it.
Love it too. I'm going to find the George Kittle audio there because George Kittle's was, you know the mentality that George Kittle has, man.
Well, the man wants to fucking win, Robbie. He wants to goddamn win, son.
Let me see if I got George Kittle here. All right, here we go. Here's George Kittle.
Does that create dissension or disbelief or just disconnection on the sideline?
Not disbelief or disconnection like as a team. That is one person who just decided not to, play for his teammates. And I don't think that doesn't make our offense look at each other and be like, wow, man, we're falling apart. It's more of or like the defense, hey, we're falling apart. It's more of a one person making like Mooney said, a selfish decision. And I'm with Mooney on that. And I've never been around anybody that's ever done that. And I hope I'm never around anybody that does that again.
Does that create?
Wow. But I love it.
Yeah, it's stuff that has to be said. Holy shit, I just found a new function on this vape, and that thing is smacking.
Love to hear it.
But Robert, let's get into some Sunday football here. How does that sound, my friend?
Sounds like a plan, Stan.
All right, let's get this game out of the way because it's the first one I see in the list. Kansas City Chiefs 21, my Cleveland Browns 7, and Robbie, it appears that the Jameis Winston era, at least for this season, might be over. He gets benched in that game for DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Jesus Christ, this is going to be rough. And it's now been announced that he will not be the starter going into week 15, I believe we're in now, or week 16. What are
we're into week 16.
Heading into week 16, DTR will be taking over the realms as quarterback for the Browns against the Bengals. So holy fuck, I'll be using my 1, 2, and 3-point plays on the Bengals against my Browns next week. But you know what, Robbie? I think this game went pretty much as what we would have expected. I mean, the Chiefs get the job done 21-7. My team sucks. Chiefs are favored by 4. I knew they were going to win this one. That's why I used my point picks on them. Back-to-back weeks betting against my team and winning, Robbie. So bittersweet, but I'll take the wins when I can get them.
Now, it didn't come without some unfortunate news. Patrick Mahomes suffering an ankle sprain. This is a week-to-week injury. He was a full participant at practice today, but I mean, I believe they have a 2-game lead in the AFC. I mean, if they got to sit him for a week, come on.
There is zero chance the NFL is going to let him sit on Christmas Day. That's got to be a fucking ball. That game has been circled on their calendar all year long. They are he is 1,000,000% going to play this next week. And
Now,
then maybe after that.
they got 2 games on Buffalo, Zach. They're 13-1 to Buffalo's 11-3. Now, the Chiefs have a game this Saturday, and then, like you said, on Christmas Day. I mean, they should really think about starting Carson Wentz this Saturday.
Yeah. You know what? I forgot about the game this Saturday. Yeah, you are correct. I honestly, it's probably not a bad call, and I think that will be something that we'll be definitely looking at because, like you said, they got that loss Buffalo sustained against the Rams now is really looking like a comfortable cushion for this Kansas City Chiefs team. But now it kind of gives them this luxury to sit their star quarterback for a bit. But we've seen Mahomes deal with ankle injuries before, Robbie, and it really does not seem to slow him down. So
no, it's like once every year it's a fucking ankle injury. This guy.
Yeah. But keep your eye on that, folks. We'll have some more news.
Myles Garrett, how's he doing after getting poked in the eye?
I don't know. I haven't. You know what? Let me search up an update on him right now, Robbie, because that looked like when you have a guy of Myles Garrett's size. Like, I mean, obviously this guy's built like a fucking Mack truck.
Yeah.
To see him just flopping around like that.
I thought it was devastating. I thought it was going to be like fucking no more. Like he's out for the game, and he came back and he wore a visor.
So I think he's going to be just fine. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, an eye injury is something that's fucking pretty scary. I mean, I had one earlier this year where I cut a piece of metal and it shot and stabbed me in the eye, Robbie, and I've never been a guy to lay down on the floor for an injury. I threw everything. I had my tools in my hands. I threw these tools fucking 40 feet in the air, and I was rolling on the floor as blood was coming out of my fucking eyeball.
Now, did you cry?
Well, I didn't cry, but I was basically crying blood. As more so like I need to get to an eye doctor right now because I think I'm going to lose my eyeball. Yeah. And it turns out I performed basically a surgery on my eyeball according to the eye doctor. So we're good. She can see, but the eye injuries are shit. Myles Garrett does look like he is going to be more than okay, though, Robert.
Now, it's funny, too, because Chris Jones kind of alluded to it before their game on Sunday. Like, the NFL needs to do a better job with the scheduling. And he's absolutely right. I mean, if it's going to come into, like, this – but then again, it's also hard to, like, make your bye weeks late past week 14, 15, 16. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
That, and especially not for nothing. I guess I'm sounding a little biased here, but for fantasy football purposes, it's a tough schedule to try to figure out if you're the NFL. I get the whole Christmas Day thing, but I mean, Thanksgiving was meant for the NFL and Christmas Day was meant for the NBA.
Yeah, when did NFL start doing this? Was it last year? Like, well,
it was shortly after COVID because it used to be NBA Christmas and NFL Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so I mean, they're up Schiff's Creek paddle here, Robbie. But I say, what do you say we move on to the next game here on our Sunday list here, Robbie, with a team that
kind of got a good point here too, Marcus. But the other problem with that too, I mean, the 17 games as it is kind of. It kind of taints statistical records. It's like what we were talking about with baseball with the golden at bat rule. It kind of taints some of the records sustained by these athletes. So now you increase it to 18 games. We'll be like, well, Patrick Mahomes just passed, or whether it was Tom Brady or Drew Brady.
All the records are going to start getting smashed.
Yeah, dude. It's really going to taint the history of the game. I mean, 17 games is already enough as it is. And the more preseason you take away, the more shit they're going to look in their first week reps.
You got that right there, Robert. Robert, next game on the list, I believe this was another one of my picks. I think I actually made up pretty good again besides my Panthers pick. Oh, that was silly. Cincinnati Bengals 37, Tennessee Titans 27. Tennessee was the home team in this one, Robbie, and the Bengals stay alive and, in fact, actually get a little bit of help with the Chargers losing and the Colts losing and the Dolphins losing. They get pretty much all the help they possibly could have gotten.
Yeah.
To the point where they might not be done here yet, Robert. I mean, obviously, they're going to need a bit of a miracle here in these last 3 weeks, but miracles have happened before. While I'm saying this, let me just pop in just to see what the Colts and the Chargers and the Dolphins got in these next upcoming weeks. Okay.
Well, I could give you the numbers. I mean, Will Levis had 3 interceptions. One of them, I believe, was returned for a pick six, or was it the one where the guy was literally about to cross so they had one for a pick six, and the other one, the guy like stumbled with the football, it fell out of his hands and went back to the end zone for a touchback.
Yeah, it's
we got to get into that later because I mean, there's another guy. I think we all know who the next guy is, who's more important, this defensive player. But this is with the 2 that happened on Sunday. This is like 3 or 4 this year. Like, how retarded are these fucking players to just bring it across and then release the ball. What are you in such a hurry to release the ball for, dude?
Yeah. But Robbie, real quick,
God.
next week, Chargers have the Broncos. That's a tough game.
Ooh.
The Colts have an easy one against the Titans, while the Dolphins against the 49ers. So that one is questionable. Going into week 17, Chargers have the Patriots. Okay. The Colts have the Giants. This is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins have the Browns. Okay, I'm gonna assume that the Bengals are done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Bengals are going to be eliminated here. Late season surge. However, Robbie, I do want to say this because I was getting a little bit upset, and this is coming from a Browns fan. I was looking on Twitter, and somebody, it was ESPN or NFL, somebody released like a, actually, it wasn't one of those big ones, but there was one sports page that released like a thing. It was like, there's obviously a
Oh, was this the
forehead.
thing that I commented on?
I don't know. It was saying that there's four. Yeah, and then everyone's like, why is Burrow there? Why is Burrow there?
Oh, I saw where Burrow wasn't there. It was
No.
Mahomes, Lamar, and Jalen Hurts. And I'm like, where the
No.
fuck is Joe Burrow?
So that was what all the comments were saying, was that Jalen Hurts should be above Burrow. I'm like, are you guys out of your fuck? Burrow is probably the best quarterback in the NFL right now. He's
He
the
is
best
the best quarterback in the NFL.
I mean,
He has the worst
Josh
defense.
Allen, you can make the argument, but look at the guys leading for yards, leading for touchdowns. I believe he has, what, 3 or 4 interceptions all year?
Yeah.
I mean, he's having an incredible season.
He has 3,977 passing yards, which is first. He has 36 passing touchdowns, which is first. He has 8 interceptions. He has a 74 QBR, which is third, probably behind to Lamar and Josh Allen.
So, I mean, it's absolutely insane that this guy's getting disrespected like this. And if his team had a reverse
It'd be like that
record,
because your defense is so fucking bad.
Yeah.
People are looking at Joe Burrow. They look at the Bengals and they say, well, they're losing. And then the fucking naive, stupid fucks are the same ones that are like, well, Joe Burrow is probably the reason why. No, like they don't do. Those who are actual haters, like I hate Dak Prescott. But if Dak Prescott was balling out, and I don't hate Dak Prescott because of who he is. I hate him because of Isaiah specifically. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I would have Dak's back and be like, dude, he has all these numbers, but the Cowboys defense is the worst in football. Like, what do you want him to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing to Burrow's fault. It's the front office's fault for not acknowledging their weaknesses before the trade deadline and for fucking around with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase through the whole offseason. It's the Bengals front office fault. I honestly won't even put any blame on Zach Taylor. I mean, they literally have Trey Hendrickson in defense, and then who else? They made to the Super Bowl literally with Trey Hendrickson and Eli Apple, and Eli Apple is ass.
Eli Apple cost them that game.
Yeah.
Robert, let's get going here on some of these games here. Like we just said,
Will
the
Levis
Bengals-
is benched, by the way, too. He will be benched for the
Yes.
next year.
So who's
And
that
I
now?
believe
Fucking-
his ex was at the game, too.
Ooh, well, probably
Is
sucking on
that-
some Burrow dick after that game.
It's that Gia girl. Well, he has a girlfriend now.
Yeah, but he's also an NFL quarterback. I'd be fucking all the pussy I can get.
Gia Dudley. Gia Dudley. Now,
This next,
Joe Burrow's got potential for most handsome quarterback in football.
okay, which is sucks cock.
No homo. Go on. Next game.
I was more of a Ben Roethlisberger type guy. Next game here, Robert. Washington Commanders had a bit of a nail biter here against
Fuck
the
them.
New Orleans Saints, who started probably the worst quarterback I've ever seen in NFL history. And
I
that's
told you
Jake
that who was starting. I told you
Pennon
again
guy.
that's who they said was starting.
What the fuck were they thinking? This
I
guy
don't
was
know.
horrible.
Tanking?
They actually made a good point on part of my take, but they're like, it was actually getting to the point where it was kind of concerning. We're like, you have to take this guy out because this is unsafe for him to be playing in this sort of game here. He's gonna get killed. Commanders do hold on though, Robbie, in an absolute nail biter in a what I'm gonna call was a must-win victory for them. 20-19 against the Saints. Should have been a plowed job, but Saints kept it close in the end.
And you know, did you see too that the NFL like stopped the clock for an entire second as well?
I did not see that. No.
Oh yeah, I've seen it all over Twitter. It's like, what is Vegas doing here? They literally stopped the clock for a whole second so the Saints could clock the ball with 1 second left and get a playoff.
Oh, that'll happen right there.
And then the Saints went for 2. They went for the win and they failed.
And the Commanders holding on to the last playoff spot. Once we go through all the rest of these games, Robbie, I will go over the updated playoff standings
you know
here.
who had a monster start to the season has significantly fall off cliff?
Who's that?
Alvin Kamara.
Well, I wouldn't say falling off a cliff, but yeah,
I'm not
I mean,
hearing anything about fucking Alvin Kamara at
well,
all.
here's something you want to hear about him. Good chance he's not playing in this upcoming week, Robert.
Yeah, he had an injury.
So you got taken out of that game with an abductor injury. I mean, but the start he had was just so amazing. Like, obviously, it's going to be tough to keep that sort of consistency going, but he's been a consistent. I've had him in fantasy all year. He's been like a 15 to 20 point fantasy player.
Well, it makes up if it's a full point PPR league because
I'm a half point.
Okay.
Half point PPR.
I'm in a half point, a full point the rest of the way.
Robert, this next game here, let's keep on purring here. Baltimore Ravens 35, the New York Giants 14. Giants still winless at home this year. They haven't won a game at home since it's incredible how bad this fucking team is, Robert.
It's about to be a under year.
Yeah.
January
the Ravens,
I think, was their last win.
And they're not going to get another win at home. There's no chance.
The New York Rangers have had a more recent win than the New York Giants in MetLife.
Which doesn't even surprise me at this point, Robbie. The Giants 14, Baltimore Ravens 35. I mean, what else to say? It's just what we had expected. The Ravens came in as a 16.5-point favorite, and of course they cover that spread and then some.
And Zach, it's crazy too that Lamar Jackson, I know we already know how great he is, but it literally looks like he was playing backyard football against the Giants, dude.
Yeah, it's like it's like beer league for him when you face a team like that.
See Ryan's breaking news?
I did see that.
Breaking news: Mike Vick takes the head coaching job, I believe, at Norfolk College. Yep, Norfolk State. And Ryan said it's a good thing it wasn't a dog training job, and you're absolutely right, Ryan.
Yep, it's more like dog fighting training.
Uh-oh, Zachary. I don't know how much this matters, but we do have breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Breaking news coming out of the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals and safety Budda Baker have reached an agreement on a 3-year, $54 million contract extension, $30 million of it guaranteed. So, Zach, when we talked about the Cardinals on Thursday, we talked about how literally the only player that they have on defense is Budda Baker, and they just locked him up for the next 3 seasons.
Had to get him in. You had to get him in, Robbie. And Isaiah's really chirping your Patriots. Isaiah, I mean, as a mutual party here, I think you're smoking crack because the Giants,
I think you're smoking crack too,
are horrible.
They're damn near not watchable. Tommy DeVito honestly did the best he could for what he had. I mean, he got concussed because he has no time in that pocket. I mean, it's 2 years in a row now. When Andrew Thomas, their left tackle, goes down, that's when the Giants season goes to shit because their offensive line is made of a bunch of people from the Special Olympics.
Rob, what Robbie's alluding to, folks, that the fact their offensive line is full of retards. Okay, baby, let's do it.
Nope, Carla, we're going to do this again. Tommy DeVito.
Danny DeVito would probably be another culprit. He'd be the same style of quarterback.
Yeah.
Robbie, the next game here, I mean, I made this pick last week just to redheaded fuck grabbed my phone and said this. I made this pick last week just to kind of get under our good pal Bob's skin, or your father, Bob's skin. But obviously the Cowboys maybe eat my words here, Robbie. 30 for the Cowboys, 14 for the Panthers. What are we thinking here, Robbie? Obviously it's too little too late for the Cowboys. The Panthers have had a couple good weeks, or I mean, I want to say, I know the term's going to be a little weird to hear, but some good losses the last couple of weeks. This one, however, not a very good one. They were just not in this game. Their offense looked slow from the start. Bryce Young did end up picking up near the end, but way too little too late.
I think what the Cowboys are going to make out of the season is their running back situation heading into the season. I mean, they had Zeke, they had Dalvin Cook, and they have Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle has really turned up the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I think that's something that they look at. Jalen Tolbert, who is, or not Tolbert, I think it's Kavonte Turbin, who is their super utility guy, special teams, running and receiving. I mean, I think that's something that they could try to utilize into next season. The defense kind of came a little too late, unfortunately. That's the problem here. Micah Parsons was struggling to start the season. He had an injury. He comes back, and the defense has kind of picked it up ever since. They got to get a better defensive coordinator than Mike Zimmer to be contenders next year. Brandon Aubrey attempted a NFL record 70-yard field goal attempt,
which I love,
and he pulled the shit out of it. Can you blame him?
I mean, but no, I want to see more of that, though.
I agree.
I want to see some records being broken.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm actually all in for it. Now, the Panthers, you sit there and you say to yourself, Zach, what if they kept Deontay Johnson? I mean, Deontay Johnson doesn't do shit for Baltimore. I think there's a misconnection there. Plus, maybe the inner Steeler in him is trying to fuck them too. Maybe. I don't know.
Yep.
But if they had kept Deontay Johnson, I mean, maybe they pull off 2 to 3 wins.
Well, you get that other weapon, right? But I mean, at this point, it's like, do you want to get 2 or 3 more wins, or you want to solidify your best possible pick just to get in there? Carl Lever, have a good night, brother. Thanks for tuning in.
As always, thank you.
And again, happy birthday, brother. We will see you on Thursday, my man.
On Thursday. Thank you, sir. Sleep well. That is from Lafayette.
But yeah, I mean, Robbie, as you said, I feel like the Panthers, maybe as you keep them around, you might get a winner. You might get one more win on your record. And at this point, it's like, is it really worth it? Probably not. I think at this point, they just got to solidify as many draft picks as they can and try to build this team up with Bryce Young, give him as many weapons as possible, solidify a good line for him, and just kind of see what the future holds, because it's now looking like they have a quarterback, Robbie, which we were not too certain for the last year and a half.
I agree. And David Temper, the owner, stay out of the way.
Yes. Next game on the list here, Robbie, nail biter in Jacksonville. Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets get the job done 32-25 for the against the Jacksonville Jaguars, rather. A win that really doesn't mean anything for either side. It's more of just a feel-good win if you're a Jets fan. But, I mean, do you really feel that good about beating Mac Jones by 5 and letting?
Well, I think they're going to feel good that Devontae Adams really turned up in the second half. I believe all of his numbers literally came from in the second half. 9 receptions.
No, Robbie, he had about 140 receiving yards in the last 4 minutes of the game.
Oh, holy shit.
Like, he absolutely came alive in the end.
Now this lies the question for the Jets, because you look at how it's been all season and you say, you know what, it's time to move on from Aaron Rodgers and just restart. But then when you see what they did with the connection that him and Devontae have, now you sit there and you say, ooh, maybe with the right coach and coaching staff, we might have something to work with here. And Zach, I'll tell you what, I agree. This team didn't look great, but they also didn't look bad under Robert Saleh. With Jeff Ulrich taking over, they look like a fucking lost football team. And the fact that they still were in it with the Jags all game long is still a problem. But Aaron Rodgers has really turned it up the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And if he's going to turn it up, that connection with Devontae Adams.
I think the Jets need to go into next. I mean, there's a reason you went all for it. There's a reason. One last year. You bring in the right coach, all right? Screw the age. Bring in Pete Carroll. Bring in Pete Carroll's staff to go with Aaron Rodgers, to go with Breece Hall, Devontae, Garrett Wilson. Get the right guy as your defensive coordinator with Quinnen and Quincy Williams, with Sauce Gardner, with DJ Reed. You have to go for it one more time, I feel like, Zach. You can't just give up on this. You got to go for it one more time with the right staff in mind.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens in this offseason, Robbie, but I feel like this is a bit of fireworks coming into fruition here for this New York Jets team at the end of the season here.
And now it's a matter of how they're going to draft, because Joe Douglas has done really good drafting outside of Zach Wilson, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson. He's done a very good job drafting. So the next GM that comes in is going to have, they're going to have a top 10 pick. It's going to be the most important pick for the franchise.
Will they have a top 10 pick, though, Robbie?
I think they will.
Let me go to Tankathon, because I don't think they'd have a top 10 pick anymore.
That would impress the fuck out of me with 4 wins.
Dude, there is so many. They have right now they're at 8th overall. So yes, they have a top 10 pick at the moment.
They can keep it. Patriots are due for 1 win.
But Robbie, let's keep this fucking momentum going here, huh? Miami Dolphins can just get an absolute blow of all blows to their playoff chances with a tough defeat here at the hands of the Houston Texans in Houston. 20 for the Texans, 12 for the Dolphins, Robbie, and I think that might be all she wrote for the Miami Dolphins now.
If the Jets bring Aaron Rodgers back next year, I'm here to tell you right now, Tua's going to be the worst quarterback in the AFC East. He will be worse than Drake May. Tua is a fraud. When it comes to facing winning teams, the Dolphins are incapable of beating these teams 90% of the time. He just looked absolutely terrible in that game, Zach. There's nothing that he did well. 3 interceptions, Two of them to Derek Stingley covering Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill finished with 2 receptions for 36 yards. Their number one receiver was Malik Washington, 5 receptions for 52 yards. They couldn't run the ball well. I mean, they really should think about moving on from Mike McDaniels, dude. Seriously. It's not working.
It might have to be something that they look at now at this point. Because, I mean, like you just said, they got weapons all over the field. And, I mean, obviously, the Tua injury is going to be a bit of a
problem.
A bit of a problem for him, but the fact that they weren't prepared for this coming into the season without having a comparable backup, I mean, to me, is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
like that is just horrible planning. Bob is saying that Waddle got a knee injury in that game. I mean, to be honest with you, it's way too little, too late, regardless for that Dolphins team. But what could have been?
I don't know, man. I think the contract extension they gave him. I mean, obviously they can give him max dollar, but the concussion history, with his inability to really throw the football with any sort of power, I mean, it's going to be hard for them to ever be successful and compete for the AFC East.
Yeah, maybe they'll be looking to acquire a new quarterback going into this offseason. We'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, they should, but I mean, who? Because all those quarterbacks can be drafted by then.
I'm not saying about drafting. Maybe they'll be looking at possibly a trade, maybe signing someone that's looking to swap teams.
I mean, honestly, the backup quarterback that we're going to be talking about next year to be signed is Daniel Jones.
Which, I mean, that's how shit Tua is. He might be becoming a fucking starter with that team.
He might.
But Robbie, let's keep this puppy going here.
And in fact, the Texans, I'm not buying into the hype. I know you.
No, me neither. I've given up on them.
Yeah, they just. I think the Diggs injury is playing a significant factor to their poor success. They're winning these games by the freaking pubes on their balls.
There you go. Well, there you go. Robert, next game here on the list. Colts versus the Broncos. Two teams that are really battling for a playoff spot. The Broncos obviously in the playoffs. Colts on the outside looking in and really needed a win here, Robbie, but they do not get it. Great start for them. They end up losing 31-13. Anthony Richardson back to absolute doggy doo-doo status in the NFL.
Yep.
And the Colts are not going to win shit with that guy as a quarterback, Robbie.
Bo Nix looked like a rookie quarterback for the first 3 quarters. He had 3 interceptions. But like you say, Anthony Richardson kind of fumbled the bag. And then the interception that they had on that trick play, which was so predictable. I'm going to see if I can I'm going to see if I'll be able to find it correctly. Colts trick play. Because you see the receiver catches the ball from Richardson. You know what? I don't need to explain nothing. You'll just see it. So in case you haven't seen it, which I think everybody has, here's the trick play that I'm alluding to that led to Denver pick 6. By the way, I'm not complaining for fantasy football purposes. Here we go.
Run game or quarterback run game is set up.
Instantly, he screwed up right there, Zachary. Instantly, he screwed up right there the second that Anthony Richardson made his pass. I'm going to replay it.
Run game is set up.
Looks for the laces. The second you do that, the defense is going to adjust, and so they did.
Mitchell's going to be a double pass, and that one is intercepted. Oh. It's Bonito.
Hold my dick. Yeah, well, that was a pretty stupid play. And I mean,
fourth quarter, the Broncos outscored the Colts 21-0. Now I got to find the Jonathan Taylor video.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, for those folks that Jonathan, we every time we see this happen, we're like, how fucking stupid are these guys dropping a football about at the half-yard line before entering in for a touchdown? It to me is the dumbest fucking thing you could ever do.
Here we go, Jonathan Taylor.
So here's Richardson, who was just 6 of 17 throwing in the first half. Taylor breaking away. Taylor, touchdown.
Now that's the regular play. Let's show you the slow-mo with Gene Steratore.
And we've seen this happen more than once this year. The player's not breaking the plane of the goal line. The ball comes loose. We see him let it go before it breaks the plane. We have a fumble in the field of play, and we all know now that a fumble in the field of play rolling through the end zone, out of the end zone, the result is a touchback. We clearly see him dropping the football before it breaks the plane of the goal line.
What a fucking idiot. What a fucking idiot.
And he acknowledged it, too. I'm trying to see if I can find the... here it is right here, Jonathan Taylor. It's 2 minutes too long. So the quotes essentially said, they say they didn't cross the goal line. That can't happen. I just know that we had 6 less points. I just told my team I apologize. I just know that that'll never happen again.
Well, I mean, and that was like a TSN turning point, Robert. They get that touchdown, they're up.
That's their season right there.
Like
That's
that. I mean, it is a mistake that comes at the most costly of times, Robert. But I mean, that's just something you cannot do.
Yeah.
Robbie, this next game on the list though was, I mean, what could have been, a preview of a Super Bowl match for this season, Robert. The Buffalo Bills heading into Detroit to play the Detroit Lions. The Bills, yes, they do have 3 losses on the season, but they have also given the Kansas City Chiefs their first loss of the year. And this was their second really big test. And holy fuck, Robbie, this Buffalo Bills team might win the Super Bowl this year. And it's kind of crazy because, I mean, obviously they got Josh Allen, but they lost so many pieces on defense. They lost so many pieces on offense. They bring in Amari Cooper, who really has done not like crazy much for the Bills. He's been an okay addition for him, but hasn't really stood out too much. Keon Coleman's been a beast for him all year. Josh Allen is playing at the MVP caliber of all MVP calibers right now, just making plays left, right, and center. The guy has almost gotten 100 fucking points in back-to-back or the last 2 weeks combined in fantasy. It's ridiculous. They take down the Detroit Lions, who you got to feel terrible for the Lions, Robbie. This is a team that had some serious Super Bowl aspirations. They have now just been depleted on the defensive side of the football here. And then to add insult to injury, running back Dave Montgomery done for the year with an MCL injury. And if you had the over on his rushing yards for the season, folks, I feel horrible for you. Rushing yards for the season set at the beginning, 775.5 yards for David Montgomery. Going in with 3 weeks left, he gets injured, and he had 775.
There's Toby. He
Yes.
has a person show in a minute.
He was 1 or a half yard away from getting the over, Robbie. So one more rushing yard, he would have got the over. He had 3 weeks, with 3 weeks to go. But unfortunately, he gets the injury. Another tough loss for this Lions team. And Robbie, I'm here to say I think the Lions season might be done. Yes, they're going to make the playoffs. Yes, they still have a great team. Their offense is still electric. But that defense is not going to win you a Super Bowl this year. And it is so shit for the city of Detroit, because if everything was able to just stay good for them and they were able to stay somewhat healthy, I think they were a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and I just can't put them in that category now for all these defensive injuries, Robbie.
Yeah. I know a lot of the bettors are probably going like this.
No, 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 no!
You got that right, sir.
Now, the Lions, Zach, the injuries they sustained on the defensive end is so fucking tragic. I have all the names here for you, so start counting, Zach, as I say the names. Let's get the first one out of the way, the most notable one, probably the first major injury that they had this season. That is Aiden Hutchinson, who I believe is still up there in terms of like players with the most sacks in the NFL this season. Aiden Hutchinson, Elaine McNeil, Marcus Davenport, big injury. John Kaminsky, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes, big injury. Jalen Reeves-Maben, Carlton Davis, which just literally, I think, happened on Sunday, if not last week. Major injury. Ennis Rakestraw Jr., Emmanuel Mosley, catastrophic injury. And the last one here, I'm going to do my best. Ifatu Melifanu.
That guy's name's fucked up. But that is 12 injuries.
And then you can add Dave Montgomery to the list.
It's brutal, man. And that's football for you, though. You got to
And
stay
they're
healthy
still
to win a
the favorite to
championship.
win the Super Bowl, but if you ask me what the state that they're at and the Eagles are at, I'm taking the Eagles all day.
Eagles are going to win the NFC now, Robbie. Robbie, I know you're going to make fun of me, but I've had, I think, 4 beers now. I'm going to piss my pants. So
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm going to let you just talk about this game here, unless you, I mean, there's definitely something you got to say about this one.
Piss off. Fuck you.
BRB.
You suck. I think you're right, Dad. I think it depends. It's something he really has to think about applying to these shows nowadays. Well, when you look at the Buffalo's receiving, there was no one that really stood out outside of Ty Johnson, who had a couple big receptions. But, I mean, Josh Allen had over 400 total purpose yards again, 362 passing, 60 on the ground, 4 total touchdowns. And you know what? Let's not forget about Jared Goff. Jared Goff, 38 of 59, 494 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. The one thing that could have definitely screwed Lions in this game was the random onside kick call in the third quarter by Dan Campbell. And this isn't what it used to be, where it's like you could catch him off guard. You got to let them know that you're going for the onside kick. They went for it, and the Buffalo returned it inside of the 5-yard line for the Detroit Lions. So, I mean, that ultimately could have been another reason why that the Lions lost this game outside the key injuries. I don't know if there's any veterans out there, like when they brought in Jamal Adams, if there's like a veteran defensive player that they could bring in that comes off the top of my head. But they got to look for some sort of help in the defensive end, because it's great you brought in Jamal Adams with that veteran presence and like
goddamn
used to be able to do. But I was just saying, Zach, I don't know if there's any veteran defensive players left out there that they could bring in to help.
It's kind of shitty that all this happened after the trade deadline is surpassed now, because it's like you just don't even have a chance to make a move now to solidify any spots. But yeah, they're up shit's creek, no powder, Robbie.
I wonder if the Lions purposely didn't cut Devondre Campbell strictly because the Detroit Lions would probably swoop in and take him.
Yeah, it's possible, because that would have been probably the call that was made immediately. I mean, even after seeing what the guy did, I think
Dan Campbell ain't gonna let that shit happen.
No.
All right, next game, buddy.
All right, Robbie. Well, we just alluded to him. The Philadelphia Eagles, 27 at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 13. Kind of sending Pittsburgh back to reality here a little bit. I mean, obviously the Steelers still the division leader for the AFC in their division, not the AFC total, but the Eagles, Robbie. I mean, we said it week in and week out. They are just, especially now after all these injuries to Detroit, they are the team to beat in the NFC, and they prove it week in and week out. And I mean, this team is, in my opinion, we're going to be seeing the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and we might be seeing a rematch of the Super Bowl from a couple years ago if the Chiefs can continue this going for them. I think we'd have a different result this time, though, Robert.
Possible.
Do you have anything you want to say about this one, or should I just keep on rolling?
Keep rolling.
All right, Robbie, next game here. Your New England Patriots 17, Arizona Cardinals 30. Trey McBride now sets a record for, I believe, 89 receptions this year with 0 touchdowns. Still no touchdowns. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Wait, did you say 89 receptions?
Maybe not. Sorry, not. I think
9 receptions, 87 yards. Oh, you're talking total for the season.
In the season, 89 receptions all year long with no touchdowns.
And they tried too. They did a little quick toss at the 1-yard line, and the Patriots stuffed him.
So the poor guy just can't find the end zone, Robbie. But Cardinals get a nice little just a victory for their own selves there.
Yeah, and the Patriots continue to lose.
Next game here, Robbie. I'm going to go through these last 4 quick here because I did not see it's already 7:45. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 40. Baker Mayfield with a game of all games against the Los Angeles Chargers 17. Tough loss for the Chargers. Like we said, though, Robbie, they got pretty lucky with the Colts and the Dolphins both losing this week. The Bengals did end up getting the W, but still a 2-game window with 3 games left. Going to be tough. And as you said, Mike Evans, I believe he needs 80 yards or something now, or 84 yards average for the last 3 games to solidify 1,000 yards.
749 receiving yards, so he needs 251.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, and this man has missed, 3 games this year?
Yeah, with the hamstring injury.
Like, the guy is
How do people not appreciate Mike Evans?
He's one of the most underappreciated wide receivers probably in the history of this fucking league.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that man was able to get a Super Bowl.
Me too.
Robbie, next game on the list, though, Green Bay Packers, our buddy Ryan.
Wait. Why is that? Players more receiving touchdowns than Quentin Johnson in 2024. Wait, does Quentin Johnson have 8 receiving touchdowns this year?
I'm not too sure.
I don't know neither, because they have Mike Evans at 9, Amon-Ra at 10, Terry McLaurin at 11, Jamar Chase at 15. I think Quentin Johnson has 8 touchdown receptions this year.
That's pretty good. Also, forgot to mention
a lot.
I forgot to mention we were talking about the Baltimore Ravens. Mark Andrews sets the new franchise record, Robbie. 48 career touchdowns for the Ravens, surpassing Jamal Lewis.
Mm-hmm. Good for him. Congratulations, Mr. Andrews. The diabetic that can just absolutely destroy a defense.
But yeah, Robbie, I mean, as we said, the Packers get the job done 30-13. Very, very tough news for Seattle, where it looks like our buddy Geno Smith could be done for the year. Tough injury for the Seahawks. I mean, you're kind of on the cusp of it anyways right now, but this kind of just solidifies your future here.
Mm.
And then Robbie, I mean, these next 2 games, I'm just going to say the scores because they were just snooze fest for Monday Night Footballs. 30-12 for the Minnesota Vikings over the Bears, and 15-9 for the Falcons over the Raiders. And that win, Robbie, kind of keeps the Falcons alive in the playoff contention, but
yeah,
I think with Geno Smith, if he is done for the year, I think the playoffs are probably going to be set in the NFC with Washington holding on to that final spot.
Yeah.
And it looks like the AFC is pretty well set too, Robert.
Yeah, I think it's set in stone. I just want to say this about the Packers. I really did, in a way, doubt Josh Jacobs heading into this. Josh Jacobs has not missed the beat. Josh Jacobs is fucking balling for the Green Bay Packers, dude.
I got him in fantasy, and I'm loving every second of him, Robert.
Now, unfortunately, he still doesn't have that touchdown reception that Jordan Love promised him. Actually, I think he does. He does. Okay, never mind. Fuck me.
No, thank you. But, Robert, that is it for our NFL news here, sir. What do you say we switch paths to a little bit of NBA basketball?
Shit happened in Houston. Okay. Yeah, you want to get sued again in a different sport? Let's do it. It's the NBA on the Sports Cave, and tonight, the championship game for the NBA season tournament, the Milwaukee Bucks versus the OKC Thunder. Go Bucks, go.
Well, Robbie, we mentioned it last week during the semis. I had OKC winning it. You had the Bucks, and we were both sort of right because they will be facing each other in the finals. That goes down shortly in the lone game, the NBA slate tonight. If you are in fantasy basketball and you're kind of looking, going, wait, why are these points getting added? Should I pick some guys up for tonight? Don't waste your pickups, folks, because these points do not get counted towards any fantasy stats, nor does this win or loss count towards any sort of season statistics. Robert, we have a bit of a doozy, though, and I'm excited to see this game here, even though I'm probably not going to watch a second of it. But I hope my Canadians in OKC with Luguentz Dort and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander can get the job done.
Negative, Steve. I've seen championships. You've been jumping from team to team to team to team to team to try to get a championship, and they continue to lose. You're a loser.
That's really rude.
Well, he came at me. He's calling me a loser for me rooting for the Milwaukee Bucks. My cousin Nate is a Bucks fan. I'm trying to stand up for my.
I'm with you, Steve. I'm with you, Steve.
It's funny because it was either today or yesterday. Steve said, and I quote, Zach is a fake OKC fan. And you know he's going to tell you. I swear, whatever you want me to swear on, I will
Which
swear.
is funny, because if he said that, Steve, I'm going to give you a second here, Steve, to he's lying, Zach, he said.
Of course he's going to say that, Zach. You know he's not an honest man. Zach, I will swear.
I don't know.
To swear. And I swear, he said it.
That'd be disgusting if you said that, Steve. He's calling you a bitch. Well, Robbie, we have some shit to get into here, so I'm just gonna ignore the noise. Like we said, that game goes down tonight. OKC versus the Bucks. So come Thursday, we'll have a recap. We'll have a recap of the in-season tournament finale, and thank God this is finally done. But Robert, let's start off with the news that I think you're probably going to want to start off with, and I don't even think I put it in the notes. I think you added this in.
Yeah,
classic. Your Brooklyn Nets, Robbie, have made a move.
Yep.
Dennis Schroeder, no longer a member of the Nets. He is moving to Golden State to join Steph Curry and the Warriors. Golden State Warriors trade for Dennis Schroeder. They are sending they're sending to Brooklyn DeAnthony Melton and 3 second-round picks. Mm-hmm. Robbie, I know you were kind of a little bit upset about this. There was no first-round picks because you're so used to getting first-round picks and trades here. But, I mean, to be honest with you, I know Schroeder's had a good start of the season. I don't think this is a bad trade whatsoever.
I mean, Schroeder is having a damn near all-star start to the season, dude. Dennis Schroeder, how long do you think he's been in the league for, Zachary?
He's got to be approaching 12 years.
Dennis Schroeder, let's see. He's 31 years old, Zachary. His debut came back in 2013-14. This is now 12 years. Atlanta for 5, OKC for 2, Lakers for 2, Brooklyn for 2, Toronto for 1, Boston. I don't remember him in Boston at all. Boston for 1. He was in Boston in 21 and 22. And then I think they trade him to Houston. So 1 year in Houston as well. I mean, this guy's been all over. But this year with the Nets, yeah, I was just checking to see if it's the highest points per game. But it's, I It looks like the third high in his career. 18.4 points per game, 6.6 assists, 1.1 steals. He's shooting 89% from the free throw line, 39% from three, and 45% from the field.
I mean, those are good numbers.
They're very good numbers. I just don't know how he's going to sustain all this through Golden State when he's been handling the ball most of the time over there in Brooklyn. It's not going to be like that with the Warriors. And are they going to run over backcourt with him and Curry, or is it going to be Pominski and Curry? I mean, what are they looking to do over there in Golden State? The fact of the matter is with this move, I don't know if it necessarily moves the needle. I think they're still going to kind of stay put at what they're at.
Yeah, this isn't the move that's going to push them over that ledge.
No, and maybe they call Brooklyn again and say, you know what, we want Cam Johnson too. What's it going to take for Cam Johnson?
Yeah,
And if they want Cam Johnson, I anticipate Jonathan Kuminga being a part of that trade package.
Be a big old dealione.
I would like that deal.
And also, Robbie, if we are
Schroeder, we both experienced Dennis Schroeder. He's a guy you hate to play against because of how fucking chirpy he is, but he's the guy you love to have.
He's one of those ones you want in your squad. And if we are talking about the Warriors, Robbie, it also is worth noting that the Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks have set a new NBA record for a combined 48 fucking 3 points in one game. Excuse me. When you got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson going at it, I guess there's going to be potential for some fireworks, a lot of 3-point shooting, but 48 triples in one game is ridiculous. This game is just completely changed.
They wonder why the ratings are going down. It's for this reason, dude.
Because all you do is drive the paint. Fucking let's get some poster dunks here. No one wants to see a guy throw half court heaves up every fucking possession. I'm sorry.
And not to mention too, if you do posterize someone and you taunt or you flex or whatever, you get a technical foul. The game's gotten soft, dude. It's not as impressive as it once was. The resting the players really drove a lot of fans out of the league too, because it's Kawhi, LeBron, Embiid. There's a lot of the players that just aren't coming to my mind that sit because of rest. It's annoying, man.
It's
Ben
brutal.
Simmons. It's annoying. It's not the NBA is not as good as it used to be. I used to really love and enjoy watching the NBA, and it's outside of my team sucking, dude. I used to watch any NBA game that was on TV. I don't really care for it anymore. I'd rather watch college hoops.
Yeah, it's lost a bit of the.
I thought that was the most stupid cliche thing to say by NBA haters like 4 or 5 years ago. I see where they're coming from. I'd rather watch college hoops, as sloppy as it may be. They play and they drive and they play the game of basketball. It's not just fucking shooting threes like everyone thinks they're Steph Curry.
Well, we kind of have him to blame for that, Robert. I mean, obviously he is incredible, but he is.
Well, we can have him to blame with the 3-pointers. We have LeBron to blame for the super teams, and we have Kawhi to blame for the resting.
Not true. LeBron made the super team to beat the Boston Celtics, who had created the first super team.
And LeBron continued on and on and on and on and
on. But Robert, 76ers, let's start talking about this squad here. You got Joel Embiid out now for a week with a sinus fracture. Oh God, what a fucking pussy you are. And then to add insult to injury, TikTok superstar Jared McCain also going down with an injury with his meniscus, so he's going to be out indefinitely as well. So it is going horribly for the 76ers this year, Robbie. And I believe me and you are completely for it.
Oh, I'm not complaining whatsoever. I love it. And I believe the Nets have the Sixers first-round pick this year protected to top 8.
Well, that's kind of be the concerning thing, Rob, because right now it's like, I mean, obviously there's so much basketball. This team is going to make – they'll end up turning it around at some point. But, I mean, what if they finish with like a 9th overall pick and you get to steal that fucking thing from them?
Bring me pure joy and adrenaline.
But Robbie, that was just worth noting. Let's get into an ex-76er here, Mr. Paul Jorge George.
You say ex-76er?
Yeah, I knew I made a mistake right when I said it. It's Clipper is what I meant to say. But you know what? Hey, it's been a long day. The round of applause should be warranted, Robbie, because Mr. Paul George cracks into the top 10 list of all 3-pointers made here, Robbie. 2,200. 2,283 triples now for Mr. Paul George, Robert. So
I used to love Paul George, but now I hate Paul George.
you know what, Robbie? You know what I was getting confused with there? The next name on my list was James Harden. And when I was saying ex-76er, I must take a little bit of a gander at Mr. Harden, and my brain got a little scrambled here. But James Harden, Robbie, turning back the clock with a vintage performance against the Utah Jazz here. 41 points for Mr. Harden in an absolute butt-fucking blowout for the Clippers of Mr. Harden against the Utah Jazz here. I mean, obviously, the Clippers, another team kind of with the 76ers there and just dealing with injuries and dealing with kind of old players being kind of pussy, Robbie. And I love Kawhi Leonard. I don't think Kawhi Leonard's ever going to play a game again. I mean, this guy, it just seems like the motherfucker gets injured left, right, and center. The Clippers and me are a team that they are just not going to be able to figure it out. It's been like the last fucking decade where it seems like, or maybe not decade, but last 5 years where it's like, okay, this team can do something. And it just always seems to blow up in their face.
No, it's been the last 10 years because it all started when they had Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, J.J. Redick, Matt Barnes, Paul Pierce. I mean, they had Hito Turkoglu, and then they go to Kawhi, Paul George, Patrick Beverly, to Kawhi, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. I mean, it just does it. Ty Lue's an overrated coach too, man. I've said it so many times. Ty Lue is not a good coach.
He's a pussy. But Robert, that's all I got for the NBA news. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to throw in there.
Oh, why don't we throw our UConn Huskies in there? Wait, before we continue to talk UConn Huskies, I have to play the song.
Sue us again.
Yeah.
Excuse me, folks. That was a big burp.
Fat fuck. All right, let's go through the top 25 rankings in college men's hoop. But before we continue to do so, I am parched. I need a sip of my water.
I finished my beers. I have more in the fridge, but I feel like we're approaching the end of this podcast, so I'm going to hold strong, get a beer after maybe.
All right, here we go. Dropping down 9 spots and landing at number 25. The Clemson Tigers. Go Tigers. Dropping down 10 spots from 14 to 24. The Michigan Wolverines. Drop from the rankings, Mississippi State and Wisconsin. Number 23 is San Diego State. Number 22 is Dayton University. Number 21, a team that took down our UConn Huskies, Memphis. Number 20, Michigan State. Number 19, Cincinnati. Number 18, UCLA, who jumped up 6 spots. Ole Miss jumps up 2 spots to number 17. Purdue drops down 5 to number 16. Houston stays put, Zachary, right at number 15. At 14, who dropped 1 spot at 10-0, the Oklahoma Sooners. At number 13, Gonzaga, who dropped from 8 to 13 after their loss to the UConn Huskies. Number 12, jumping up 5 spots, Texas A&M. Well, they were in the top 5. They went all down to number 25, and they're working their way back into the top 10. They're just outside of it right now. The UConn Huskies went up 7 spots to number 11. They're getting back.
Huskies.
That was disgusting. Number 10 at 10-1, Oregon, jumping up 2 spots. Marquette goes from 6 to 9, go down 3 spots. Kansas goes to number 8, jumping up 2. Florida goes up to 7, jumping 2. Alabama goes up a spot, going to number 6 at 8-2. Duke drops 1 down. They are 8-2. Kentucky post John Calipari 10-1. They are number 4. Iowa State is 9-1. Auburn is 9-1, and Tennessee at the top at 10-0.
I mean, our boys are making their way back up this list, Robbie. I love to see it. Obviously, those 2 tough or a couple tough losses early on the season, but then you get those big wins against Baylor and Gonzaga, and that's got to light a fire under your ass.
You're going to throw Texas in there, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're talking about a bit of a rebound here for our UConn Huskies, and the three-peat is not out of the realm of possibilities, folks.
Now, they got a very tough game tomorrow at home. I don't know if it's in Stores or the XL Center. I'll tell you in a second here. here. It's at the XL Center. I'm not going. Again for 3:30 Zachary, unfortunately. Against Xavier, and then they have a game on Saturday at Butler, and then their next game is going to be on New Year's Day at DePaul.
Matty D might be popping in that game there, Robert. Maybe you should join him.
No, I get for 3:30.
But Robbie, I think that do you have anything else you want to go for basketball, or should we get through some hockey and end this sucker off? Oh.
I don't think
Shoot. Pass. Kick some motherfucking ass, bitch.
Wow.
We do have a little bit of hockey news here, Robert. Starting off in the Great White North, and for our Toronto Maple Leafs.
Can I give our folks a preview of what is to be expected in the future?
Sure. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, if the Toronto Maple Leafs score a goal, we'll be going like this. Zachary, get your echo ready.
Toronto Maple Leaf goal. Something like that, folks. It's a rough draft, you know.
I left it to Zachary because it is his hockey team at the end of the day. He converted me into a Leafs fan. Thanks
we bleed blue over here. But Robbie, I mean, it's going to be weird to say this was good news. But our goalie did go down with an injury, Anthony Stolarz, and there was a lot of kind of rumors going around that this was going to be a very serious injury. MRI did reveal that he avoided a serious injury, but he will be out 4 to 6 weeks as they open up his knee to just remove what they're calling a loose body, whatever the fuck that means. So I'm assuming there's like some sort of loose particles and loose, maybe shit that's broken off. It's just been kind of hanging around his knee area. They're gonna pop him open, suck that shit out of there. 4 to 6 weeks, he'll be right back, and it is brutal, Robbie, because this guy came off backing up Bobrovsky last year for a Stanley Cup, and he has been one of the best goalies in the league so far this year. The Leafs goalie tandem so far this year has been fantastic, but that's a tough loss to have right there. As it sits right now, we're sitting first in the Atlantic. We are off to a blistering start. Matthews was injured for fucking half the season, and we just were able to keep afloat, so I'm loving what I'm seeing.
Nylander kept them afloat, man. Nylander was awesome.
And Robbie, I know we hate on this man a lot. We have to give credit where credit's due to Mitch Marner right now.
I will not do that because you know how he gets down when it comes to the playoffs.
But I want to see how he is with a coach like Craig Berube in the playoffs, because Sheldon Keefe is a player's coach. He is a bit of a softie with these guys, where Berube is kind of like a Mike.
Have fun with it and have fun with it.
Yeah, Berube is not going to take that fucking shit. If you could be Austin Matthews, if you're not playing the way that he wants to be playing, especially in the playoffs, you're not going to fucking play. Where Keefe would never have the balls to sit one of those guys down. Berube wouldn't even blink an eye doing it. So I think maybe we could see a different version. Obviously, only time will tell.
You know my favorite moment with Berube's been so far? When that stupid woman asked him if they should be concerned during preseason, he's like, "Not really. It's preseason."
Yeah, and he's like, "Shut up, you dumb bitch."
Yeah.
Robbie, keeping it in the East here, the Buffalo Sabres, Robbie, the longest non-playoff streak in NHL. It seems like it's going to be continuing, Robbie, because they are now 10 losses in a row. They just cannot figure out in Buffalo. I do not understand what's going on with this team. And then to make matters worse, the owner, which this rarely happens, called for a team meeting with the players only, just to go in there and discuss some things with them. The players and the coach, I should say, rather, not players only. You don't see that very often, Robbie. And then the consensus from that meeting was kind of that the owner seems to think that the answers for this team are inside that room. So he's telling them, do not expect a big trade. He believes in this team. He believes in the roster. They can figure this out. And I need to know what sort of weed this guy is getting, because I need his dealer. And I would love to smoke on that loud pack that he's puffing, because this guy is out of his fucking mind if he thinks this team is going to do shit from Shinola in the goddamn playoffs. They have to make the playoffs first, which they're not ever going to do. This division keeps getting better, and this team stays the same level playing field, or they get fucking progressively worse. And if I look back on some of the rosters these guys have had over the last 5 years, they had a team, Robbie, that had Jack Eichel, Rasmus Dahlin, Ryan O'Reilly, all on the same team, and they didn't make the fucking playoffs. I mean, to me, it's just It swings and misses for this
That Jack
franchise.
Eichel trade is going to bite him in the ass, dude.
But the Jack Eichel trade was one that was kind of forced. Like
The whole next
but
thing.
it was forced because the Buffalo Sabres owner and management crew didn't want to allow Jack Eichel to get the surgery that he wanted to get. And look how it's turned out for him in Vegas. The guy is a top player in the fucking league. He's right up there for the top in league points, maybe top 10, top 15. It is an all-time bag fumble by the city of Buffalo, getting rid of that guy. An all-time bag fumble, trading Ryan O'Reilly away for him to go win a Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues. And to boot, Robbie, that year when they had Jack Eichel, Ryan O'Reilly, Rasmus Dahlin, Jeff Skinner was on that team. They also had Linus Allmark as their goaltender. So they had a great goaltender as well, too, and they just still couldn't figure it out. This team is cursed.
Would you like to guess what number Jack Eichel is for points?
I'm going to say he is 7th.
Zach, that is a hell of a guess. There's 2 tied for 6. Connor McDavid and Martin Nikas?
Martin Necas.
Well,
Ooh,
Jack
that's
Eichel's right after them, number 8.
Okay, he's right there.
That's very
and
good.
Martin Necas, by the way, that guy is having, like, there's not a soul on earth that expected him to be near the top of this fucking trade bait, or the top of the point leaders in the league. That guy's having an incredible year.
Now, do you know who is leading the league in goals this year?
Leading the league in goals is Leon Draisaitl because he was the first to get 20 goals.
At 23.
Yeah.
And I'll give you one last one. Assists.
Leading the league in assists, I'm going to say it's Nathan McKinnon.
You would be correct with 37, Eichel at 33, Kucherov at 32, Mitch Marner 31, McDavid at 30.
Yeah, McKinnon is. Robbie, I said it before and I'll say it again. This is no longer an automatic Connor McDavid is the best player playing hockey right now. I think McKinnon has earned to be. He's level playing field with McDavid, in my opinion.
Okay.
Robbie, a little bit more hockey news, and then we can send these folks home. New York Islanders getting a big boost in the offensive category here after getting star forward Matt Barzal back from a 21-game injury absence, suffering an upper body injury. Hockey never discloses whether it's like what actually the upper body injury was. They just say it's an upper body or a lower body injury. So could have been a concussion, could have been a shoulder thing, could have been a fucking abdominal. It could have been anything due to his upper body. But to miss 21 games, obviously it was a bit of a substantial injury, but you get him back. That's a big boost for him, Robbie. To be honest with you, I'm not too good as a. I'm kind of fumbling here a little bit because I do not know anything to do with the standings. Like I don't know where the Islanders are.
I got you.
If you want to pull that sucker up, that'd be fantastic.
The Islanders are at 31 points. They're only a point behind the Senators for the second slot, and Tampa Bay Lightning hold the number 1 slot in the wild card with 34. As it pertains to the metropolitan area, they're well behind. They are 8 points behind the third place Carolina Hurricanes. The Devils are at 43. The Capitals are at 44. The Capitals have 3 games less played than the New Jersey Devils, and they are up a point.
So, I mean, getting Barzal back there, Robbie, that's going to give them a big boost. I expect to see them cracking in the playoffs here. Obviously, the East is pretty good in hockey, though, so can't see that for sure.
What about the Rangers? Anything's going on with the Rangers?
The Rangers are a weird team, man. You sign Shesterkin.
They go from winning the President's Trophy to shit.
I mean, they're definitely not shit. I think the Rangers should be counting their lucky stars that they have Jonathan Quick as their backup goalie here, because Shesterkin, I'm surprised they even offered him that contract again afterwards. I mean, the guy is not an 11.5. He's a great goalie. I'm not going to say he's not an $11.5 million goalie. I don't think any goalie deserves to make an $11.5 million. To me, that's absolutely ridiculous to pay a goaltending that sort of cash. However, the salary cap they are projecting is going to jump up about $10 million over the next 3-4 years. So, you know, maybe you're going to start seeing
a year or overall.
No. Over the next 4 years, it'll go up. It might go up $2.5 million a year, whatever it is. But exactly, well, that's NHL for you, Robert. They're not going to have. They're looking at their big jump to be like a $5-6 million jump, which, let's be honest, that's really not much. No. But Robbie, we had a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup final here between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers here earlier on this week. Panthers do get the job done 6-5, Robbie, but I do want to talk about these Edmonton Oilers real quick because I was a bit harsh on them to start the season. They had a terrible start again. They've now won 5 in a row before losing to the Panthers. They've worked their way right back up into playoff contention, and I mean, you got McDavid, you got Draisaitl, Hyman is firing.
Which I tried to tell you happened last year, even though I don't know shit about hockey.
Stuart Skinner is looking fantastic for him in net. Darnell Nurse is finally playing up to his contract. I mean, it's looking good if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan right now, Robert. It is looking solid.
I'm sure our good friend Francis, who has joined the show on a couple phone calls, is probably happy with I mean, he sent me some with the Oilers a couple days ago.
See if you want to pull it up. Francis probably has a fucking blitzering boner right now watching this team play.
Let's see. Oh, I think it was destroying Minnesota because they beat them 7-1.
Well, Robbie,
I lied to you. Is that the most recent game?
No, they lost the Panthers' most recent game.
It was Vegas. It was Minnesota a couple days ago. Yes, Minnesota 7-1. They lost to Florida, and then after Florida, they beat Vegas. They beat Minnesota. They beat Tampa Bay. They beat St. Louis. They beat Columbus. They lost to Vegas. They beat Colorado. They beat Utah, and they beat the Rangers. So they have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They have won. It looks like 9 out of their last 11.
Yeah, no, they're catching heat, Robbie. They are catching heat. The last little bit of news here, Robert, before we can send these folks home with a smile on their face. We do have a trade to report here. The St. Louis Blues are acquiring veteran defenseman Cam Fowler and a 2027 fourth-round pick from the Anaheim Mighty Ducks in exchange for defenseman Jeremy Biaka-Batuka, never heard of this guy, and a second-round pick in 2027. So obviously the second-round pick is going to be what they're focusing this trade on, but Cam Fowler is a great defenseman. He can command a power play. He can be a shutdown defenseman when needed. And I think if you're looking at the defensive injuries that St. Louis has had this year, you got Torrey Krug out for the year. Justin Schultz now dealing with injuries. I think this was a move that they had to make. And to be honest with you, for a second-round pick, I would take it, Robbie.
Why for a second-round pick?
I mean, second-round, you know what? If you weren't getting a fourth-round pick back, I would not give up a second-round pick. The difference, in my opinion, between a fourth and a second-round pick in the NHL, it's not, like, catastrophic. You know what I mean? Like, you're still... Like, second-round picks, obviously, are a way better chance they're going to prevail because, I mean, that's just common fucking math. There are 60 players picked ahead.
Yeah.
But to get a guy like Cam Fowler, you're going to get that solidified, maybe top 4 defense. He's not going to step into your top 2 position, but he'll be a top 4 defensive for you. He'll be able to run your second power play unit. He'll be able to run penalty kill for you. He'll be able to be that kind of shutdown guy that you're looking to get. And to have a team where you're kind of, I'm not going to say they have any sort of Stanley Cup aspirations, but hey, you get in the fucking playoffs in hockey, Robbie, anything can happen. We've seen it before. We've seen it again. Teams make the playoffs on the last game of the fucking season and then go on to win the Stanley Cup. The most dominant Stanley Cup run that I've ever seen in my entire life was the Los Angeles Kings going 16-3. They were up 3-0 in every single fucking series, including the Stanley Cup final, and they made the playoffs on the final game of the year with help from other teams losing. So
was that the year they beat the Rangers?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Or it might have been the year, it was either that one or the one before that one. I can't remember if it was 2012 or 2014 when they beat the Rangers. I think it might have been the year before 2012 and they went on that big run. No, sorry. It was the Ranger year because they beat the Rangers in Game 5, 4-1 in overtime. So it would have been that year.
I remember watching.
But, Robert, that's all I got, man. That's all I got for you.
Well, let's get the fuck up on here, my friend. Tomorrow is Hump Day. We are now 7 days away from celebrating 8 days away. Will be 7 days tomorrow celebrating Jesus' birthday. So,
Jesus.
Yes, our good friend Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. I got to edit the show. Zachary, take us on out.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a Tuesday night episode. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. We will see you guys on Thursday. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great night, folks, and stay sexy, Sports Cave.